Welcome back to the Successful Driver Podcast presented by Aero Truck Sales. Thank you guys so much for listening. It's been a really fun experience for us here at Aero, getting to hear from a lot of different people, both here at Aero and outside the industry. And we are lucky enough to be talking to some people outside of those Aero walls. Real excited to hear from Darrel Wilson, founder and CEO of Wilson Logistics, and Kirk Wilson, the asset manager at Wilson Logistics. Darrel, Kirk, thank you guys so much for listening, for coming on. I'm really excited for people to kind of listen and hear from you. I do want to just start right off the bat, and we'll start with Darrel. Darrel, I want to kind of just hear a little bit about your industry background, your story in the trucking industry, how you got started from there, and just take it from there, my friend.
Okay, all right, Ken. It's not a lot. So I started in 1980. Grew up in the industry. My father was a driver. I wanted to buy a truck, be an owner-operator, and hit the road. So I couldn't drive interstate until you're 21. So when I got to high school, I went to work at the Kenworth dealer in Springfield and knew that when I turned 21, I was going to get a truck and hit the road. So early my 20th year, we had a really good used truck hit the lot. And I thought, man, that'd be a great truck. I could just buy this thing and I'll hire a driver. And when I turned 21, boom, I'll hop on and go trucking. And I did. And shortly after I turned 21, I already had 3 trucks. And, this was the day before, cell phones or any type of in-cab communication. So if you weren't near a phone, pretty tough to keep track of your trucks. So I rented a shop, worked on my trucks, worked on outside folks' trucks, and started from right there.
Wow. And so from there on, what kind of progressed towards, what you're at now with Wilson Logistics? What was the story from then to now?
So obviously 1980 deregulation hit, lots of growth in the industry, lots of competition in the industry, really a young new industry at that point with the change from deregulation. So it wasn't probably the easiest times, but I'd go up a few trucks and I'd go down a truck and grow a few trucks. And through the 80s, had my own authority and I'd haul for some brokers and a few direct customers, and had some trucks leased to a small carrier around Springfield, and did that through the 80s. 1990 came along, early 90s came along, and I probably had 15 trucks or so. And Prime here in Springfield was really setting things on fire, and I saw what they were doing and the freight network they had, and I took my 15 trucks over to Prime and leased them to them, and became just an owner-operator for Prime. Power-only type guy, I guess, is what you really call it. We still have that operation in play today. It's 450 trucks though, instead of 15. And so in that operation, as a power-only guy, owner-operator, we felt like our job was to have a well-maintained truck with a driver on it, available to haul freight. And as long as we did that efficiently, that's been a good model for us. We started down the road of acquisitions in 2014 and started our acquisitions out west. The first one was in Missoula, Montana. We did 5 of them in 6 years, and that would be our drive-in Western operations. So in the West, in our drive-in operations, we have about 600 trucks now. Of that 600 trucks, we have a group of Western 11 trucks. We have a heavy emphasis on the I-5. We have some regional trucks in the Pacific Northwest, brokerage, intermodal. Most solutions we feel that our shippers might need.
Man, that's a phenomenal story there, and it's a great picture there. Kirk, how about you, man? What's kind of your story here in the trucking industry?
So I came along probably somewhere in the mid '80s too. So growing up in a trucking company family, didn't need a babysitter, took all of us kids to work. We were probably detailing trucks and, polishing aluminum, and working our way up to tires and brakes and all that stuff, as early kids. So really not working in this industry was never even a thought that I had. So pretty much grew up in a diesel shop, went straight to work for the company out of high school. When I was 20, I moved into our operations department. And that's where I spent most of my time. dispatching, working with drivers, doing some planning and some freight sales and, all of that throughout the years. But basically operations.
That's kind of just been your career arc throughout here. And you guys, your father and son duo. I don't think I made that clear at the top of the show, but I'm really excited to kind of get both of your perspectives because both of you have a lot of industry experience. It's probably manifested itself in a little different way. So I'll start with Darrel. I want to know from you, Darrel. We ask this to everyone. What do you think makes a successful driver?
So a successful driver is going to be the driver that completes his task, right? He's going to be the driver that plans his day, is safe all throughout that day, manages his shippers and receivers. He manages his hours of service. He's managing his truck. He's keeping it clean. He's keeping it maintained. It's a big job, and that job goes his entire day. And the guy or gal that does every bit of that and manages their day successfully is a successful driver.
All right, Kirk, same question to you. We love to get different perspectives. Successful driver, what makes one?
So, I'm mostly going to say safety. A successful driver is obviously a safe one. He's getting up and down the road without any issues. But, I just think the one that works hard, gets everything done and is that go-to guy, whether he's a company driver and his fleet manager knows, hey, I've got a hot load. I need to get it on my best guy. You got to be that guy. Owner operator, you've got a broker that's got a special load. They're going to call you. Just be that go-to.
That's great. So I want to know your guys' role in the driver story, the truck driver story. How do you guys help drivers find success out on the road? Darrel, how do you help drivers find success out on the road?
So if you define success is what I just said earlier, then it's, as far as being safe, it's helping with safety training, right? With a strong safety culture that supports them and creates a safe environment around them. Operations folks that are aggressive and make sure that delivery and pickup appointments are in line for them and set up so that they have the very least amount of time spent as shippers and receivers as possible. Someone really looking out for them and trying to make their tough day easier for them.
So I want to follow up to that real quick. You kind of talk about a culture of safety over at Wilson. So what steps have you had to take that have really made a drastic, imprint on the driver safety aspect of your industry here?
So Ken, it's just a complete safety culture. For me, right through the company, safety is our highest calling. There's nothing more important than safety in our company. We're annually going to win the Safe Fleet Awards. It's just permeating, and everyone knows that we have to operate safe. And our drivers are on the road. If they tell us something's unsafe, it's unsafe. If we see someone needs some training or needs some help, or we see an area in the fleet that we need some help in, we'll start a serious training process right there. But we have ongoing training always. We have simulator training, but really creating that safe atmosphere where everybody is on board for safety is a huge part.
Okay, Kirk, same question for you. How your role? How are you helping drivers find success? What's your responsibility? How are you helping that happen?
Well, I wouldn't say this is, me specifically, but I think as a company, one thing that we've really focused on as we've grown is to create new opportunities for our drivers. We're not just a one-trick pony where, you're going to come work for us, you're going to pull a reefer, you'll be gone for 4 weeks and then home for 4 days. We've got a great training program where we bring new people into the industry, good company positions available, lease options, power only options, local positions, really trying to fit the driver with the best thing for him.
That's great. Doing research on you guys a little bit beforehand, seeing that, you guys were selected as one of the, best fleets to drive for. You guys have laid out a lot of really, valuable things, as part of driver success. But what, if you can name one thing outside of what we've kind of talked about here already, and if you can't, it's all good. But Darrell, I'll start with you. Why do you think you guys were just voted one of the best fleets to drive for?
I feel like it's because our company recognizes that, it starts and ends with the driver. They've got a tough job, and everybody in our company job is to support that driver.
That's great. Kirk, same question.
I think that we have the mentality that we have had that award a long time before. So every decision we make, it's what's going to continue to have people feel this way about us. What's going to make them want.
No, that's great, guys. It's really great to hear. And it's cool to kind of get perspectives from a variety of different, even just regionally, there's just different flavors of perspective here. And one of the things we always like to ask, and we're always curious about, is, just looking at the industry in general. There's always a lot of changes to this industry, and it's always happening. It's continually happening, and it manifests itself in a lot of different ways. And Darrell, I'll start with you. You've got a 40-year history, 40+ year history here in the trucking industry. What has changed so drastically, and what have been the big industry changes from when you started in the trucking industry to now?
It's not hard. It's hard not to say technology, right? And we've been riding technology for over 30 years now. So, it's been with us for a long time, and it's probably changing and quicker today than ever. So I think it's absolutely big. It increases the speed that we operate at. It increases the speed that business comes at us. It's changed the trucks that our drivers operate today. It's changed the support today. It's changed everything.
You kind of talked a little bit about safety, Darrell, and technology in the trucks themselves has provided a lot of safety. Is that something that you're taking a lot of consideration as you're purchasing trucks?
It really is, yes. We have not made any safety technology we don't like. Every bit of it has proven us to give us a solid return on investment and to give us a safer truck.
Yeah. So the safety features within trucks, you think just an overwhelming net positive for you guys based on, the information and what you guys kind of have at your fingertips, overwhelming positive, or is that the case?
No, it's overwhelming positive. And we run close to 100 million miles a year, and we watch our spec of our trucks very closely and what each spec does and technology that's available in our existing technology. And we feel that we get great value from it, and our drivers do too.
No, that's great. All right, Kirk, same thing for you. You kind of have a little different perspective. How has the industry changed drastically from your perspective from when you started to now?
Technology is a huge one. And I think, the driver itself has changed. Whenever I was younger, it was very, very common to, work with guys that were Vietnam veterans. And, now I bet in our whole fleet, we might have one. So the type of guy has changed a lot younger folks, especially with all the companies that are, training drivers. And I think the drivers, as they get younger, are able to adapt more to that technology as well and even make it work better.
Yeah. You kind of talked a little bit about, the changing demographics of the trucking industry a little bit. And you are kind of starting to see, some younger drivers get involved to hear a little bit more in different generational gaps. What are you kind of noticing about the younger drivers these days specifically? What do you think motivates them maybe differently than guys 20, 30 years ago, Kirk?
I think 20, 30 years ago, there was probably more of a necessity. It was, work my ass off all day on the farm or, go out in a truck and I'm still going to be working just as hard, but, probably more fruit to his labor. Today, I don't think it's probably near as much of a necessity. Life's a little bit easier. But, they're entrepreneurs. A lot of them, they want to get out there. They want to start their own business, and, trucking is a great way to do that.
All right, Darrell, I want to ask you this. This last year or so, we've seen some drastic changes just in our country, due to the pandemic. How has the pandemic affected Wilson? What are the big things that you've noticed about your industry? Maybe stuff you've learned about your company or things that have really, changed, how you guys operate.
The thing we obviously saw about our company and the whole industry and all our companies, is that we're very resilient, right? Look at the changes we went through last year in 2020. Mm-hmm. But, the same things that hit our company, the same things hit every company, right? We had a serious loss of business. We had a ramp up period after that. We had a serious loss of business. We had a tough time to do business, an expensive time to do business. It's a tough time to recruit. Then still is today, but we had our training classes. We cut 50% to social distance. So it was just in general a tough year all along. But our industry did jump in there. Our drivers, when things kicked in full gear and we needed them to deliver our essential goods, they jumped in and they performed and they trucked. And they trucked under very tough conditions, and they didn't say a thing. They just kept working.
It's really amazing to see the resiliency of this industry. And it's a trend that, it shows up a lot when we're talking in this show. It's just, how these guys respond in times of crisis when this country needs them the most. And I think it's across the board, is just seeing all these guys step in and, all these people, step in and really make a major impact in this country, being able to push through some extremely difficult times. Guys,
they know they can't stop. They know the job to do.
Yeah, no, it's true. I always kind of think about it, it's the most thankless job in the country. It really is. And I don't think everyone realizes how much, toilet paper, if you bought it, a truck driver brought it, and we really, we hope that they're getting recognition throughout this. And it's really cool to hear that's such a theme that shows up anyone we're talking to in the trucking industry. It really is. And that's just such a cool thing. And guys, I want to thank you for taking some time with us. It's really awesome to hear how you're treating drivers and continued success. We wish you the best moving forward here in 2021. Thank you guys both so much for spending some time with us.
Ken, thank you for having us on. I appreciate it.
Ken, thank you.
Absolutely, boys. That is going to do it for the Successful Driver podcast this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you to Darrel and Kirk Wilson from Wilson Logistics. Really enjoyed listening and hearing from them. We'll catch you.